how to pass your ACCA exam in 12 weeks. That is the target that lots of ACCA students have, and I'm delighted to welcome Omar onto the channel today, who's going to walk and talk us through how he passed his exams over a 12-week period. So Omar, feel free to introduce yourself, my friend.
Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Omar. I am based in London and I have recently qualified as an ACCA member. So I went through the university route where I gained 9 exemptions, and that's basically my story on the ACCA. And I'd just like to, before you start asking questions, James, I'd like to share how I discovered you and how helpful you've been to me.
Oh, that's fine. Shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically I self-studied, and it's just to help everyone visualize my situation. When you're self-studying and you're working a 9 to 5, but you don't necessarily have the support of your employer to cover financially
Mm,
your studies and everything, what tends to happen is it's just you sat somewhere, maybe a textbook, and then off you go.
mm.
So so coming from a university background where you know what's going to happen, you know what you're going to cover in week 2, you have a lecturer that spells it out for you. I really needed someone to just give me that little bit of guidance. And so when I'm someone who loves to research things, so if I'm going to another country, I'll just do some research, might maybe go on YouTube, type the country in,
Yeah.
and just get a little flavor. So what I did was I searched ACCA, and that's how I discovered your account. And
Cool.
it was just fantastic. You just put in the subject that you're studying, and you'll just go through all the resources using the ACCA website, and you just basically spit it out. So I thought that was fantastic.
Oh, mega Omar, I really appreciate that, mate. And it's just so nice you've come on the channel today and you're giving back where the tips that you're going to take students through right now from your experience are going to help. So leave a comment below, guys, how you get on applying Omar's tips. But let's get straight into it, Omar. How to pass from literally getting those books to 12 weeks time. How did you go about it?
So I've got some bullet points written down on my second screen. And
Hmm.
first of all, I would like to say, if you were self-studying before opening your textbooks, before the 12-week program, the first thing I would do is spend time figuring out how to learn. So just to expand on that is, are you a visual learner? Are you someone who likes to learn by going to a classroom because you may
Hmm.
lack discipline? Figure out, first of all, spend a day or two just figuring out how you effectively learn. And this could be whilst you're studying by
Yeah.
trial and error. So I would spend a lot of time just figuring out how to learn. So you just get that confidence that you know how to learn, you know how to study effectively, how to retain the information, and how to understand the information.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that's tip
Everyone's
number one.
everyone's different. I used to use flick notes, flick cards. Obviously you've got the bread and butter of the cortex that's you've just got to get through it on there, but sometimes you just want to listen to lectures. But let's dive into a bit more detail. Talk us through how you went about it.
So for me, the hardest part of this ACCA journey was the planning. Like I said to you, I was self-studying. I didn't know what to do. So for me, I decided to just plan everything out like I was in university. So I spent 4 weeks just covering the syllabus.
Hmm.
And then that would be easier for some subjects, a lot harder for other subjects.
Yeah.
So for example, tax was a huge syllabus. So that would have been a lot more intense. It might have been a bit difficult, but my plan was to cover the syllabus in 4 weeks,
Hmm.
then spend 2 weeks recapping everything. Some tuition providers give you these little short revision courses
Yeah.
that are intense, that are a week long, and they just cover everything. So I would spend 6 weeks covering the syllabus twice. Then your results would come out. Hopefully, if it went positive, you get that extra boost, just
Hmm.
that you'll feel fantastic, and you have 6 weeks remaining and you've covered the syllabus twice. Then those last 6 weeks, what I would do is just pass paper, pass paper, pass paper.
Hmm.
And that's where most of my learning came from. I wasn't someone that was good at taking notes because I just felt as if taking notes wasn't really where I was going to learn, because your study text could be very different from what actually gets examined and the way
Mm.
it's examined. So I just knew that past papers were just a fantastic resource, and I concentrated and put most of my effort towards the past papers.
Oh, wicked. No, really good advice there, Omar. And especially just going on to the ACCA Study Hub, going on to which exam you've got to do, and it shows you on there all the past papers, and it gives you an opportunity to get familiar with the CBE platform, which I'm sure we're going to
Yeah.
go on to. And I used to look through when I was a student and go, right, I've got 6 past papers here available. And maybe you've got a core text of sort of revision, past paper questions as well in the bank. So that is where, again, from you're saying for planning, the remaining 6 weeks, you've got to start planning out how you're going to do these past papers, how you're going to fit it into your life. I mean, is it all flooding back now? How did you put that into practice?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important part with the past papers is to actually attempt it to yourself in exam conditions,
Mm,
because even though in the title it might say somewhere that I passed first time, but before doing the actual exams, I'd failed so many times. Like I would test myself in exam
mm,
conditions 5 weeks before the exam, and I would mark myself really harshly, not taking into
mm,
consideration the professional marks that you get, because I just thought, they're sort of subjective, and I don't know if based on I don't know what you would say, but I think the only exam that maybe you might have to pay attention to it is SBL, whereas the other exams you're told not to concentrate on them. So I
mm,
just thought, let me just think of them as just 3 marks, mark myself really harshly, and I would 5 weeks out mark myself, and I've seen that I've got 33 marks. And that would really shock me and scare me and just sort of help me figure out that you failed, Omar. If this was the real exam, you've actually failed.
yeah.
So now you have 5 weeks to prepare, learn from your mistakes, and then go again.
Yeah,
So
absolutely spot on. And I love how you're saying be really harsh on yourself as well, because that is the standard. And especially at the strategic professional level, those option papers as well,
yeah,
pass rates. I think the lowest is down there at about 32, 34% of APM and advanced audit assurance. Very, very tough. But what else comes to your mind, Omar, that could help a student to pass in those 12 weeks period? I mean, what helps you to get over the line?
I would also recommend changing your sort of mindset. So you do hear a lot of students talking about their exams and worrying and being nervous about their exams, which is natural, of course. But so for me, I'm a big combat sports fan. So I love the MMA, I love
Mm,
boxing. And I once heard an interview from an athlete who described fight night as and fight week as weeks that he really looked forward to. And
mm,
then I think the interviewer, for the normal civilian, we would always think like, how can you be looking forward to going into a fight? Isn't it scary? You could injure
mm,
yourself. But he thought of it as that's 12-week fight camp, an 11-week fight camp where he's training his hardest, absolutely destroying himself. And that last week he's sort of tapering off. And on fight night, he can just show off. So I
yeah.
took on that mentality. So on exam day, so I have 11 weeks, work really hard, do everything I can, put all my energy into revising, put in the hours. So on exam week, which most people month end falls into exam week if
Yeah.
you are working a full-time job.
Yeah.
So that's Monday to Thursday. You're not really going to get many hours of studying. But at that point, you shouldn't be nervous. You should be thinking, I'm tapering off now. I've worked for 11 weeks. I've worked really hard. And on exam day, all I need to do is perform for 3 hours and 15 minutes. And if
Mhm.
you think about it, you've been revising for 9 hours on a Saturday, 9 hours on a Sunday, and all you have to do is revise. All you have to do is just show your knowledge off to the examiner for 3 hours and 15. So I would say change your mindset. Think of your exam, the whole process in a positive light, and that will really help you get over and get a pass, basically.
Wicked. No, really good advice there and good metaphor as well on there. I mean, it all links into other factors that if I mention to you about, say, time management in an exam, attempting all 100 marks, what other points have you got on that screen that you want to get across to the viewers today?
So for me, again, it ties into the mentality point. For me, I think an expert tutor recommended that the way you should approach each mark or each question is you should be thinking of trying to accumulate as many marks as you
Mm,
can within the allocated time. So I think students have this misconception that it's going to sound weird when it comes out of my mouth, but you have a question and you have to answer it, and you have to get everything correct. But if you think about it, you just say, for example, there's 10 marks available,
mhm,
and you've given yourself 1.8 minutes per mark, or it depends on whatever you're working with. and you got 18 minutes, and your mentality should be trying to accumulate as many marks as possible,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, 100 marks available, all you need to get is 50. Well, try get a little bit more, but you're aiming for 50.
I agree. Yeah. My mentality when I was doing my exams was always, again, using your 10 marker, I used to say to myself, 2 to 3 marks here are just going to be, they call it like low hanging fruit or just sort of easy marks just to pick up on, stating the obvious, using the words from the requirement, using things from the scenario that you've gone through, and just trying to pick up in the first things you're writing down. 2 to 3 easy marks. And then as it gets later into the time, it's going to get more technical. You've got to go into more detail. But why throw away those first 2 to 3 easy marks? Because you only need 5 out of 10 for that requirement to pass.
Exactly. Yeah. And one other thing that I'd like to include is so one of my mentors who I currently work with, she recommended that after every exam session, reflect on what went well, what didn't go so well, and what, because if I compare my performance from the exam in March 2023 to the performance in December 2023, it's just a huge difference, because I can just sort of compare and contrast what went well, what didn't go so well. And that's what really helped me, just reflecting upon after every exam, what went well, what didn't go so well.
And when you talk about it like that, what are those sort of reflections that spring to mind now that could help a student out?
So another point would be networking. So networking is really important. When people throw out that word networking, what does it really mean? So what I think networking means is, so for example, reaching out to co-workers that you've worked with previously that you know were studying ACCA. And the benefits that can come from that is they could mention something to you, what's worked for them, and you could take one thing. So for example, I struggled with taking breaks. So I always thought, what can I do when I take a break? So I've been studying for an hour and a half. What can I do? And I don't want to waste time just looking at social media, because I might get distracted or my brain might go somewhere else. What's a healthy break that I could do? And she recommended going for walks. So if you studied for an hour and a half, go for a walk in nature near a park, go put on a podcast, and that's just a healthy way. It just calms you down, lowers your anxiety, and then when you come back, you can just study again for another 2 hours.
I completely rate that. Literally, before every recording that we do, I always go for a little walk around, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I think about what I'm going to be thinking. And then obviously I'm there going, oh, quick, don't get your hair all windswept, James, and stuff for when we're recording. But absolutely some mega points in there, Omar. But are there any other final things for students to get noted down that you have to get on record for today?
So one final thing would probably be audit your personal life. So what I mean by that is get up a spreadsheet, write down the days of the week, Monday, Tuesday to Sunday, and just figure out what do you do and focus on the areas that you waste a lot of time. Because the good thing about that is if you find yourself wasting 2-3 hours on social media, try to cut that out or limit it to 30 minutes. And what you'll find is, because your time is so limited, because you're either maybe working a full-time job, or in a relationship, you've got kids or whatever, so if you've audited your life, cut out all the wasted hours, you may find time that benefits you, where you can, I can go to the gym now, or you can find a better balance of life, basically. So I would say look at your life and just think of areas that you could improve.
Yeah, really good advice. When I hear people say, "Oh, I haven't got time," there's Arnold Schwarzenegger talked about it in his training for pumping iron for Mr. Universe. He says, "No, you have time, you make time on there." And he was working 18, 19 hours a day just to squeeze in acting classes, fitness, all of it on there. And I mean, Omar, I've just got to say a massive thank you for all of your insights today. Guys, if you've got any questions, make sure you leave a comment below, as Omar said. Feel free to use it as networking. Say hello, let us know how you get on in your exam, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any other videos. Who knows, Omar? They may be on the channel in the future themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you again, James.
Absolute pleasure, Omar, and thank you for the lovely words, guys. So be sure to like this video, and good luck with your exam. So we'll see you soon. Cheers.